All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the primary source essay. It's initially that essay might sound kind of, essay sounds kind of scary, and this is not intended to be um it's it is an essay, right? You are going to have an introduction. It's going to be around a central theme, but it is 6 to 8 paragraphs in length. So this isn't a terribly long paper. This is just an opportunity. I want you to work with primary sources and primary documents. Um, You've done that a little bit with artifacts. You did the virtual museum assignment where you looked at like actual, you didn't get to see them because you saw pictures in the Smithsonian, but this is kind of the same idea, except now you're going to use a document that's, put in words. And you can center it around any theme that is of interest to you. That's actually what kind of makes this assignment fun for me is I'll get all different papers. There's 12 different chapters you can use for American Yawp. You can pick any theme that you want. The key is to center on primary sources. So you're going to pick 4 to 5 primary sources. You might be able to throw in another one there. You might be able to get it up to 6, but not much more than that. 4 to 5 primary sources. It can be centered in a specific period. So maybe you want to look at the American Revolution. Well, then you open up the chapter in the American Yawp on the American Revolution, find 4 to 5 documents, and write up what you learned about the American Revolution on the basis of those documents. Now, you are going to want to have a theme to center the documents around. So maybe your American Revolution theme would be some of the contradictions, right? We're fighting for liberty and freedom, and yet 1 out of 5 people is enslaved. Our policy towards indigenous peoples certainly doesn't reflect ideas of individual liberty or freedom. So you would want to center that around a theme. And the American Yawp will help you with that because the documents they've selected often reflect some of those themes that we're looking at in our class. You also might want to look at, sometimes what students have done is they've looked at women over the course. Now, we're not doing the whole course because you've only got to about chapter 12, but in each of those chapters, you could find, and you only need 4 to 5 documents that speak about, women's experiences in the 18th and 19th centuries. Maybe that's what you want to look at. And what American Yawp does that's kind of helpful is they have underneath each document, there's a paragraph that kind of explains in just a few sentences what that document's about. So, open up if you're like, okay, I really want to do women in terms of what their experiences were like in 18th and 19th centuries, then open up each of those chapters, kind of look through for documents written by women, and then you can read the descriptions to see if you can make those documents work for the story that you want to tell. If you're having any difficulties coming up with ideas, I've given you a couple of suggestions. I gave you a few documents you could use if you wanted to tell the story of Native Americans in the colonial period, or if you wanted to look at, what do I have here? If you want to look at people of color in the 19th century, I gave you some suggestions there too. But if you're having any trouble, just send me an email. There's a discussion board for questions with our class. If you put there, that's also going to help other students. I do encourage you, though, to contact me before you do your essay and kind of say hey, here's the, 4 or 5 documents that I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? Does this work? Should I think about something else? That way you can kind of get a little bit of feedback before you jump in and start working on the paper. The other thing I would suggest that you do is in the assignment, I put what I gave you the chapter for the textbook. Oh, never mind. That's the reader, not the textbook. I gave you the American Yawp reader with the lecture. That's what I'm trying to say. So what I would suggest doing is going back and looking at that lecture. So let's say you're looking at, the American Revolution. Well, then I'd recommend going back and looking at that lecture on the American Revolution because that will provide, some helpful context for you in terms of, kind of fleshing out the story about what's happening in the American Revolution. Likewise, you could use the the chapter readings, right? Like if you go back to the module, it will have the assigned reading. So again, let's say you want to write about the American Revolution. So you could go back to the lecture that covers the American Revolution and then click open the section that says assigned OER readings. And then that will kind of remind you like, oh, this is the chapter that really talks about the American Revolution. This is also some of the documents that we looked at. Again, the key of this assignment is to have you look at 4 to 5 primary sources, put them around a central theme, and tell a story. So if you're feel like it's feeling too hard, then you need to send me an email, because it's not meant to be that way. And it's kind of building off what you already did in the virtual museum assignment. I'm happy to help. I want you to do well on this assignment. And again, this is a fun assignment for me because I get to see all these different subjects and all these different documents. All right, I think I hit all the main points for you, but if I've forgotten anything, please send me an email. I can always meet with you via Zoom or office hours. There's also, again, that discussion board where you can post a question too. All right, take care.